Okay, so now we will go to the piece. Here are a few submitted questions and answers that have been previously submitted beforehand of the town hall. So some of you may be asking, will we have a week of welcome and training day? Yes. Please save the date for our Eagle Fest. It's the newly named Week of Welcome. Eagle Fest will run from August 10th to the 23rd and will feature a combination of in-person and virtual events, including training day. Will there be a marching band camp, and when will it start? The band will have some virtual instruction in early August and a short in-person mini camp upon students' return. How will organizations that perform on campus meet for practices? What are the terms regarding this? So organizations will need to schedule space and continue to abide by social distancing guidelines. Gatherings must be limited to no more than 10 people. So what happens if I do not choose to wear a facial mask? Students will be educated on reasons for the mask, given clear expectations and instructions, and reminded when they forget. Exceptions or accommodations should be made for students with health conditions that make mask wearing difficult and for deaf students via the Office of Student Accessibility Services. Students who still fail to comply will be processed through the university's Code of Conduct. So, how will the Eagle Shuttle operate? So riders of the Eagle Shuttle and other public transportation options must wear a face covering or mask upon entering, avoid touching surfaces, and practicing sufficient distancing. Eagle Shuttle vehicles will be equipped with hand sanitizer dispensers for riders entering the bus. Hand washing or sanitizing is also recommended for the riders after disembarking. What would happen to students that rely on university housing for shelter if COVID forces students to return home? So students experiencing housing insecurity or homelessness are encouraged to register this information with the Office of the Dean of Students. Registering will allow staff to proactively work with students on long-term housing solutions while also providing support in the event of emergencies. For registration details, email the Dean of Students at dos@nccu.edu. And what are the next steps for community service events? So, virtual service activities are being added and updated regularly in the Get Connected portal. Okay, and the biggest question, refunds. Per the University of North Carolina system leadership, NCCU and all UNC system institutions are working to ready the universities to provide in-person instruction within reason, robust on-campus experiences for our students, including housing and dining. At the same time, the UNC system is preparing for the contingencies that COVID-19 crisis may require us to address. Additionally, we cannot predict if and when we may have to alter our housing and dining services. NCCU has put into practice a number of new health and safety protocols over the past 4 months to protect the well-being of our students, faculty, and staff communities. As of today, the university does not plan to issue refunds for housing and dining. However, any updates to this guidance will be communicated to our students.
And Sean, let me add one part to that. For those students who are uncomfortable, and I understand it's probably not the answer a lot of you were looking for, but this is the plan as of today. Students that are uncomfortable with this level of uncertainty, we are extending or have extended the cancellation period for students who currently have a housing contract. Typically that date is June 30th. We have extended that date to July 15th. So I saw there were some questions about that. If you do need to cancel your housing contract, you will have until July 15th to cancel for the fall.
All righty. So thank you all for sticking with us this far. We have been trying to keep up with all the questions that have been coming through. There are quite a few questions that we will not be able to answer today just due to the volume. So we will get these questions addressed and make those answers available to everyone once we get through this town hall. But for now, we will go through a few of them. The first set of questions are related to student health. So Dr. Ross Alexander, if you could be ready. One of the questions is, how will you ensure students complete the health screenings? What will be the protocol for seeing doctors on campus for reasons outside of COVID?
So the health screening will populate on your MyEOL on every day, and it will continue to stay there until you answer the question. So it'll be very annoying. And if we start following up because you're not answering, we will also do that as well. As far as accessing the Student Health Center, you still have full access to Student Health Center. However, you will have to complete a telemedicine triage before you are scheduled an appointment. So you would still call the same number, make your appointment. You will get a triage from one of the providers, and then they will assess you for your appointment.
Another question for you, Dr. Ross Alexander. Is there a link or a form for pre-existing health condition students, or will that be sent out later?
So we will determine the pre-existing conditions based on the same medical health history questionnaire that we have every year. So we're asking every student to complete that and submit that so that we can then determine if there are any underlying conditions. But yes, there is.
The last one for you, Dr. Ross Alexander, we mentioned students with pre-existing conditions will have single occupancy. How is this determined?
So all accommodations are considered through staff, Student Accessibility Services. So if you are an immunocompromised student, we ask that you make sure you submit those documents to staff. Staff will determine the accommodation and then send that information over to housing to complete that accommodation.
And thank you for that, Dr. Ross Alexander. We did get some questions regarding events on campus. I'm just going to answer one for right now. With regards to on-campus events, will speakers and presenters from outside of the campus still be able to be brought in for programs? Yes, in certain situations. It is not an open carte blanche. Everyone can bring a guest speaker on. We will be monitoring that closely through student engagement and leadership. The departments have already given guidelines to limit the number of guest speakers or outside visitors to campus. We strongly encourage everyone to take advantage of the virtual options, WebEx, Zoom, things that you've already been engaging with. Most of the spaces in the student union and other spaces on campus have video and conferencing capabilities. We suggest everyone try to take advantage of that. But our student engagement and leadership staff will be available to assist students as they plan their events and activities. The next section.
Can you answer real quickly about the event pass? I saw there were a couple questions on it.
Event pass. I don't have any of those. Oh, how do we get the event pass? Okay, the event pass, it's literally, you can go to whatever app store you have and you would need to look up Engage Event Pass. Let me do that while I'm here. It's been a while since I've had to do that. Make sure I get you the right information. Engage. No, I'm sorry, it's Campus Labs. There you go, Campus Labs. Oh, I can't remember. Yep, if you do go to your app store and get Campus Labs, it will take you there and you will find the event pass. And it looks like this. You will need that event pass. So what will happen is you will go in, make sure you have the event pass, and then you will be able to download or save your event pass, your custom event pass. It'll give you your own specific QR code, and you'll be able to upload that to your wallet on your phone. You will need to bring that with you, and then when you come to the events, we will scan your event pass to get you into the events and activities. Some folks have gotten smart and have taken screenshots of their event pass. Screenshots will not work. The system is smart enough where you need to have the actual event pass open. You can also, I believe, we'll get more information. I want to make sure I'm not telling you all the wrong information, but we'll make sure we provide links to that information to Engage so you can get all this information and learn how to use your event pass. Moving on. Going to the academic affairs, so Dr. Anderson, if you could get ready. We've got quite a few questions, and we most likely will need to do another town hall just for academic affairs. So the first question we'll go to is, will students be given the opportunity to distance learn if they do not feel safe on campus?
The answer to that is yes. As I indicated, we're going to have at least 50% of our classes online. So if you have registered already, check schedule maybe by the end of next week to see if those classes are online, and then choose an online session if that works for you.
Okay. One question that's come up, is it possible to stay home during COVID-19 and still retain our fall classes?
Theoretically, yes, you can do that by registering for all the online sections of classes. I encourage you, however, to work closely with your advisor if you make changes to your schedule, because you don't want to impact or negatively impact your time to graduation. It may be that you can switch out some spring semester classes and take them online in the fall, and then switch the others out. Work closely with your advisor as you're considering changes to your schedule based on whether or not a class is online or face-to-face or hybrid.
Okay, Dr. Anderson, last question for you. When will we know which classes are online, hybrid, or face-to-face? Will NCCU make changes to the course catalog to indicate this, or will teachers individually tell their students? If it is the latter situation, when will this happen?
Okay. So June 15th was the deadline for all deans to notify the Office of e-learning, I think it was, about courses that are moving to the new format. So I would say that by the end of next week, because I think the bills are going out on July 6th or 7th, so everything will be populated before then.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson. Moving on to a couple of questions for residential life. I will take one. It says, since they're not getting refunds in the event that we go online again, a lot of students are deciding not to stay on campus. How do we cancel our housing? Dr. Coleman touched on that. The cancellation deadline has been extended to July 15th. You can contact Residential Life about canceling your housing for the fall semester. Another good question, are we allowed to leave campus during the weekend? So, this is not a jail. We are definitely, you're free to move about, but we do need everyone to do their part to prevent the spread of COVID-19. If you choose to go off campus or even around on campus, please make sure you're using your face masks. Please make sure you're protecting yourself. The last thing we want is to have to deal with another outbreak or deal with an outbreak on campus and have to send folks home. And the best way we can prevent that from happening is if everyone protects themselves. And the last set of questions we're going to go through, Mr. Tim Moore, some business and auxiliary questions for you regarding food services. Is an order online and pickup option available?
Not at this time, but we are working on that, and that will hopefully be completed before during the course of the semester. So we hope to be able to announce that. But our plan is to try to have that in place before the end of this semester.
All right. Will you allow students to have 2 carry-out containers rather than eating in the cafeteria?
Well, I think right now, our focus now is ensuring that our students get ample food. And of course, our preference would be obviously the 1 carry-out. But if that doesn't support the student receiving ample food, then we'll have to make an adjustment, whether it be a larger container or possibly allow for an additional container. I did mention to the person that asked the question that we will revisit that and be prepared to give a more concrete answer. But our goal and focus will be making sure the student receive ample food, and there's a couple ways we can do that.
The last question, Mr. Moore, and this will be the last question for the night, the good old swipes question. If you're a student and don't have a meal plan, can someone else still swipe you in?
Yes, sir. So the students with a meal plan have, it's two different students that have meal plans. One is a student with a residential meal plan, and the residential meal plan is loaded up with meal swipes that's really geared just for them, for him or her. But in addition to that, that student meal plan has what we call flex dollars on them. And so that person who is a residential meal plan patron, can use his or her flex dollars to purchase a meal for that person to allow that person to eat in the dining. And then we have what we call a commuter student. A commuter student have what we call a block plan, and block plans don't have that kind of restriction. So if the commuter student have a block plan, wants to swipe that person in, then yes, that person can do that.
Okay, and actually, I've just gotten to go ahead to take a couple of more questions. Let's see. Just want to make sure I can answer this. Okay, so one of the questions, this is a residential life question. The person wrote, I know it said only one person allowed to move students in. My daughter is a freshman and we're coming from 6 hours away, and I was going to need at least one person to assist me. I cannot move her in by myself. Is there any way you can allow 2 people? I think the move process will go a lot faster to allow 2 people. Allowing one person, especially if it's a middle-aged female as myself, I think is a bit unrealistic. Unfortunately, for safety and to reduce the spread of the COVID virus, we cannot allow more than one person in at a time. That would go against, the state and local guidelines for the number of people congregating in one space at this time. If something changes by the time move-in gets here, we'll adapt to that. But as of right now, we are still trying to limit the number of people in the residence halls in the spaces. We do allow 2 hours time for the move-in. And again, that's to move in. I know we may want to get the room perfect for our student when they get here, but we may have to accept just getting them in. If you need a little extra time, we may be able to accommodate you, but in the safety for all students, unfortunately, we have to limit everything to one student at a time. Moving on to another question.
Let me take one on, I saw a couple about George Street. Just to clarify, there was a question, if George Street, and I just had it, I lost it, about George Street being open if student needs to move in early. I think it said, will it be ready? George Street will be ready. It will not be available for any early move-in. If you're a student that, if you're in a special population or there's some special circumstance, and we can work with you through residential life and our Dean of Students office. But no one will be able to move into George Street before August 17th, because that is one of the new projects, and that is the date that we have set. And I see there were a couple questions about move-in appointments. So Mr. Clem, you said that information will be coming next week about the process?
That is correct. We are finalizing plans this week, and the information will be going out to students next week. If you already have your housing application or have already been assigned, you'll get that information through the THD website, but we will also be sending out emails to residential students as well.
Okay. And then I saw there were a couple questions about student athletes. Ingrid, if you're still on, there were questions about where does the earliest student athletes can move in, and can student athletes move in early?
Okay. So we have a schedule for all of our student athletes by teams. Football will be moving back to Durham in campus next week in different groups over the next 3 weeks. Volleyball will be coming in the first week of August, and then all of the other student athletes from other sports will move in according to the time that they submit to Residential Life and Housing for an appointment to move in. So the only 2 teams that will move in prior to August 10th will be football and volleyball.
I need to unmute myself. At this time, that will conclude our question and answer. Again, we have received many of your questions. Our director of marketing was trying to respond to as many questions as possible in the chat. Some other questions we have documented. We are going to do everything we can to get all of these questions to the appropriate persons and have them respond with the official responses so that we can get those posted online back to everyone as quickly as possible. At this time, I will turn things back over to the Student Government Association President, Mr. Keyshawn Coleman.
So thank you once again, Eagles, for joining us on this evening. We hope tonight has provided much clarity and reassurance in regards to the fall semester here at NCCU. If you missed any of the responses and questions, please remember that this will be posted on the NCCU Life's YouTube page. If we did not get the chance to get to your question, please submit them to NCCU Life at nccu.edu, and we will respond in a timely manner. Please continue to stay safe and be vigilant in protecting the nest. Thank you and have a great evening.